In the meantime, not just the victim's complaint that we are talking about, even the eyewitness's version that has been buried. Because what the eyewitness has been telling your channel that he also raised the issue with the crew, but the crew did not act upon it. That even raises even more questions. Deepak.
Well, Amita, there has been a cover-up on various levels. The first thing is that the victims' grievances weren't addressed on flight. Second, Mishra tried to bribe the victim to buy her silence. And third, the eyewitness's account is also being buried. So what we have here is the eyewitness's letter that he had written about pertaining to the incident that happened on flight. So if I could read out, this is to state that I, DV Sugata Bhattacharjee 8A, woke up at midnight flight when my co-passenger Mr. Shankar Mishra 8C fell on me. I initially thought he lost his balance due to a rough flight. However, as I was going to the restroom, I saw my two fellow passengers of 9A and 9C in distress. And when the lady of 9A came to the alley area and saw she was all wet, to which we all were shocked to realize that my co-passengers was intoxicated, that he went to the next row and urinated on her. And in the next page, if I could tell you, this is the letter that the eyewitness who spoke to us on Times Now had written, and they tried to bury it. And now the cops are trying to get in touch with him and also record his statement.
I think let me go to Arunil for more on that, because he's accessed this letter and this version there of the eyewitness. Arunil, all the more becomes very important to build a case against Mr. Mishra here, because he was in a way to evade the incident altogether, saying that it never happened.
Well, that is right. In fact, Mishra's chats clearly establishes that the incident had happened. Now, coming to this letter, complaint letter, basically, the eyewitness and co-passenger Sugata Bhattacharjee, who exclusively spoke 2 times. Now, he has clearly, he basically said about it that he wanted to lodge a formal complaint. However, the crew members told him, gave him a paper and told him to file an informal complaint. So that informal complaint copy is with us. He's clearly mentioning about the fact how this horrific incident took place, but he is also, basically the witness, co-passenger Sugata, is blaming the pilot also. He's pinning the blame on the pilot, saying that there was complete misjudgment from the pilot. The lady was made to sit in that urinated seat only for 2 hours. It took 2 hours for the pilot to realize that there were other vacant seats available and she could be moved to those vacant seats. So complete misjudgment is being alleged by the eyewitness, basically a co-passenger in this case, and he's also explaining the details, the horrifying details that have been heart-wrenchingly mentioned by the senior citizen lady also. Here the eyewitness is basically saying that that particular person, Mr. Shankar Misra, he first fell on me. I thought what was happening, and when later on I moved to see what was happening, there was chaos over there, and there was one senior citizen lady. She was completely baffled. She didn't know what to do, because that intoxicated, under the heavy influence of alcohol person had urinated on her. This has been mentioned by Mr. Sugata Bhattacharjee. He is the eyewitness and the co-passenger in this entire case. Now, question marks really can be raised on Air India as well, because when Sugata wanted to file a formal complaint, was there another attempt from Air India to brush things under the carpet? That is why the complaint was taken in an informal manner. If they would have reported about it to the concerned law enforcement agencies, that time only so much of time lapse wouldn't have happened. This investigation is only being started, initiated, mind you, Amita, only after the painfully written letter by the senior citizen victim in this case. There were eyewitnesses who were willing to speak about the incident, but what Air India seemed to be doing was they wanted to keep things informal so that their name doesn't get spoiled over here.
And this Deepak, is when it comes to a crime, if it has been reported, to even cover up the crime is said to be bigger than the actual crime that may have happened. In this case, that we are talking about the feedback report that is being suppressed by the crew.
See, if I have to go back to the letter again, in Shogato's letter, he has mentioned some startling details, like, the captain waited close to 2 hours before allotting her a fresh seat, and the non-pilot crew went above and beyond their call of duty. But when you have the first 4 seats vacant, you don't make a distressed passenger go back to have a seat with the human remains and wait for a crew to come and vacate her and move her. Now this proves that, they tried to suppress the victim's statement and they didn't even address her grievances on flight. And now if you see what has happened through the days, Mishra has tried to buy the silence. He changed her looks. He changed his own looks to avoid media attraction. And now this letter that has come to the fore was also, being tried to suppress, Amita.
Absolutely, because those are the questions that are being raised now, because Mr. Sugata Bhattacharjee was the first to speak to Times Now and to give his account as well of what have happened on the incident of the reported flight as well. Akansha, any movement that has happened so far? Because what is being expected that the accused in the case will be shortly shifted for a medical checkup.
Well, absolutely. Before he's taken in to the court, he will first be taken for the medical checkup. He's currently here at the IGI Airport Police Station. He's been kept in the lockup, and we've been told that around 1 or 2 o'clock he'll be moved for the medical checkup, and then will be taken to Patiala House Court, where he'll be produced before the judge, and the Delhi Police will seek his remand for more days. But now the update is that currently the pilot, co-pilot, and one of the crew members are currently inside, and they are being questioned by the Delhi Police in connection with the case. They're being asked actually what transpired that day, did they take any action, and why the decision to shift her to a first-class seat was vetoed by the pilot. So all of these questions will be asked from the crew members as well as the pilot and the co-pilot, and it remains to be seen whether they will be confronted with the accused later in the day or not. But the fact remains is that the accused has been arrested. He's been kept here inside the lockup, and during the day he'll be taken to the court where the Delhi Police will seek his custody.
All right, Arunil, this is the irony here. You have the eyewitness account, you have the lady's account, even when it comes to the accounts of the crew members, because none of them have denied so far that the incident that have happened on board the flight. But when it comes to the CEO of the same company, it's a mere acknowledgement of the incident. There doesn't seem to be any regret or an apology that came in from the airline side altogether.
Well, that is right, Amitabh. Yesterday, Times Now was the first channel to access the internal communication that the CEO of Air India, Mr. Campbell Wilson, made it with his employees. He basically was trying to defend his own company, saying that the matter is more complicated than the way it has been reported in the media. But we have, at Times Now, have given multiple such evidences. First, the letter from the victim, who was a senior citizen lady. She explained the harrowing details of what exactly happened with her, blaming the pilot, blaming the crew members. And now again we are breaking this exclusive letter of the witness in the case, Amita, who's also explained, who's also corroborated the same things which the lady has said. And he wanted to file a formal complaint, but the crew members told the person not to give out a formal complaint. They basically gave a piece of paper on which he had to manually write his complaint. It was never brought to light. It is clear case of a cover-up being initiated by a premier company like Air India, and that is what is extremely disappointing. The reason for that is it can happen with anybody of us. It can happen with our parents as well. And why Air India did not report about it despite 2 such complaints being made, and was there were they only trying to protect their brand name, or were they trying to protect their crew members and the pilot also? That is the main question.
That the incident doesn't get reported outside the plane. Whatever has happened in the plane remains with that. Aishwarya, we've been talking about the incident that has been reported as the case is now being tried to build up by the police and to record the versions of the crew and the eyewitness. What about the case that Mr. Mishra and his counsel is trying to build for him? I mean, they have been saying that his client has been cooperating with the police, but how has he been cooperating with the police?
Well, remember Shankar Mishra's WhatsApp status 5 days back. He had put that WhatsApp status where it was an admission of guilt. He put that status saying that mistakes don't define us, mistakes refine us. And also those WhatsApp chats that Times Now had exclusively accessed between the accused and the 70-year-old lady, where he had said sorry and he had paid almost the amount of 15,000 rupees for cleaning the clothes and shoes as well. And later the daughter of the lady clearly stated that it is not what they wanted They don't want any money from Shankar Mishra, but his arrest is something that an example should be set for the passengers as well. But Shankar Mishra's lawyers, on their part, yesterday as well, when we spoke to them, they clearly stated that there was no eyewitnesses to this entire incident. But Sugata Bhattacharjee came on record on Times Now as well, and he clearly narrated the entire incident as to what has happened at the 8C seat and the 9A seat where the lady and Shankar Mishra was sitting. The lawyers of Shankar Mishra also stating that the limited number of alcohol was only provided to Shankar Mishra. He did not, you know, the family members of the lady trying to defame his. The father on their account stated on record on Times Now that yesterday that Shankar Mishra was innocent. He can't do any such thing. It's a false case that is built against Shankar Mishra to demean his image. So such versions are coming up from Shankar Mishra's family. But on the other side, what the letter, the complaint had written to the crew members, and he on record on Times Now in the morning as well. When we spoke to him, he clearly stated that he handed over that particular complaint letter to one of the senior crew members. And when asked by Bhattacharjee that whether this will be submitted to the police authorities, they didn't respond to it, and where that particular piece of paper was gone, you know, he had no clue about that. But now when the Delhi police have reached to the eyewitness as well to record his statement, he could be joined in the investigation via Zoom, because he is in the US currently and he cannot fly back physically.
Speaking to us as well.